Hello. In this video, I will share some information regarding the development of Young Deer Simulator from the perspective of an environment artist. Some time ago I have decided to see some aspects of developing not relying on anyone's leaks or words. The information I have gathered is not as spicy as leaks from the previous videos, and it's not as much as I have planned to get. But it's still interesting if you are concerned about the pace of development of Young Deer Simulator. I hate to admit it, but I have contributed to the project of Young Deer Simulator. Let's begin. Alex has to rely on help from people on the internet to fill large gaps in his competences and skills. The project is also way too big and ambitious for one person to handle. For these reasons, the official site is a whole section for people willing to help, and it's pretty comprehensive. And so, I have contacted Alex. There was no verification of professional background or questioning of competency. He went straight to business and requested a very simple asset as a screening task. With the screening task, he also sent a spreadsheet with the guide to preparing an asset for the import into the game. Let's take a look at it. Going through, I understand it isn't enforced strictly since we have seen some models that do not fit all of the criteria listed here. The table also contains the reason why Young Deer Simulator does not have transparent windows. The naming conventions need more work since you don't know the content of many game files by their names alone. Back to modeling. The asset didn't take much time and effort. It was basically a box with chamfered edges. The result was satisfying, even with the models having the pivot in the wrong place and mesh not named right. Alex was still very happy and grateful. Grateful to the point he adjusted the pivot and mesh name himself. And so the list with the new assets to model was sent. I also have received references how the assets should look, but somehow at the same time, I believe Alex expected me to go out of boundaries. Former volunteers revealed how Alex would waste their time rejecting works, and that's what I have been expecting. However, things were going completely different for me. I must note Alex was very apologetic, even when there was no fault to begin with, apologetic to the point he would make Japanese person look like an unmannered redneck in comparison. Every time he was sent an update on the state of the asset, the reply full of gratitude would come at most in a couple of hours. Even when the progress wasn't going into the direction of his vision, he would request the change very, very polite. I made assets look rough and unpolished on purpose. Some places have excess polygons, all this to see how picky he gets. To my surprise, I was praised for half-completed work, and all of the assets were accepted as they were. Because of this, I have to apologize for contributing to the amount of eyesore in the game. I expect those assets to be removed in the future. One of the assets was supposed to be modeled after a model from another game. He received a perfect copy and was happy about it. Later he had a change of mind, so he requested a new design for this model. He mentioned it was not necessary, but would be nice to have an alternative. I still made the new design, hate to contribute to the plagiarism. In between update messages he slipped some information on how the game development goes. The game needs so much help from other people, its pace is limited by volunteers, and so he waits for new assets and voice lines to be delivered. We know Alex is prone to procrastination, and this waiting only enables his bad habits further. I also know some volunteers simply vanished, which doesn't help the progress either. To some, Alex may not be the only one to blame for such slow development, but he's still the only one who gets the money for it. I should mention the work was only with the environment assets. Alex may have very different standards for characters and animations. It would be wrong to be taken as contradiction to the statements of other volunteers. Judging by recent events and course of development, it looks like Alex had changed his priorities. He's being assisted by at least 2 coders, what I couldn't imagine him going for after the incident with Tiny Build. More and more store assets being replaced, there is a new base model for the characters in the works. He could have done much better if he snapped out of his pathological need for controlling everything. The foundation for the game slowly but surely being completed. It could be a lot faster, but we have what we have. Maybe Onboarding Simulator isn't as impossible as we have been thinking?